that one. Some bit of strength in SL Propack in the pre-open session at 126 or 127. So that probably will have a good start to itself. So that is another one to watch out for. And amongst the slightly larger names, I think it's DLF which is ruling the roost, but must say, not a bad start by the other real estate names as well in the pre-open rates, the likes of Unitech, etc. Probably have a percent kind of a green to themselves. So do watch out for the real estate names. Overall Realty about a percent higher as well. State Bank of India would be the other interesting one. Preferential issue to the government at a price of 295. A marginal uptick for State Bank of India in the session today. And HDFC is a stock in news as well. So do watch out. Do watch out for Fortis Healthcare. That's the interesting one. Whether it will have maybe a soft start today or not remains to be seen. But could be an interesting stock during the trading day because it's traditionally been a very good stock for the last few weeks, so to say. But this piece of news isn't the most positive for Fortis. So do watch out for Fortis Healthcare as well. But 8656 or thereabouts for the Nifty is where we will start off and about 50 odd points up for the Sensex. So this is pretty much on expected lines. No surprise there. 8662, 14 points for the Nifty, about 60 odd points or 76 odd points for the Sensex. The mid caps and the small caps have started off a tad better. What's moving on the index? It is DLF, which is probably the principal gainer on the Nifty. It's a good start for that stock, continuing from where it left off, 3% higher now at 162. But going there, BPCL about 1.25% higher, Tata Power about 1%, and State Bank of India 0.5% at 282. Remember, that's the stock in news, and that stock is not started off too badly. ITC has a mild bit of green to itself as well. No big bang moves aside of DLF, at least on the gainers, but you would take this. By the way, the Nifty is flattened out completely, almost getting ready to break to the red, I would say. So it's been very, very flat for the key indices. What's not doing well? Jindal Steel, again on expected lines. The news flow isn't the most positive, and that stock has corrected 3%. KN India, about a couple of percentage points at 221. That's a fresh 52-week low for KN India. So that, after that mild uptick midway when crude oil bounced back, has given way completely. This is a fresh 52-week low for KN India. HDFC about 1% lower, Hindalco about 1% lower, Bharti Airtel about 0.5%, so a bit of a pause there. So the stocks in news, the likes of Jindal Steel, CAN and Hindalco are all correcting in the session today. The Nifty is in the red, by the way.
Oh yes, 86.44 now. No much action when it comes to the broader markets too. Absolutely flat, and it seems like that as well is going to change tide and perhaps cross over. Quiet as quiet can be for the Nifty, but yes, you've got the commodities on one end. That's Persistent Systems, by the way. Profit warning coming in from them. 4.25% is the kind of sharp gap down start that Persistent is seeing for itself. I also want to revisit some of the other names. Remember, there was a fresh short build-up in Friday's session in names like an IDFC, Tech Mahindra, even for that matter Titan. So would be worth revisiting some of those stories, while Persistent, of course, is bleeding on the word go. IDFC is now sharply lower by about almost 0.5% there. Tech Mahindra, Titan, Itzel Technologies, NTPC, Yes Bank, L&T, these are all names which saw some fresh shorts piled up in Friday's session. Some long unwinding which was witnessed in ITC, BOB, also Kotak Mahindra Bank and Sun Pharma, and marginal greens is what these names are seeing. But it is the metal names which is really suffering in trade. So let's bring on board Chintan Mehta, mining and metal analyst at Sunidhi Securities. Chintan, how does one read into the news of some of these blocks getting recalled? Because clearly it's not a cancellation. The government has only said that they're going to review the pricing yet again.
Yeah, good morning, Asha. So the first things first, this is not the first instance. Where it's concerned, Schedule 2 mines, where 3 of the blocks were asked for a review, one for Balco, one for Jindal Steel, and another one for Maki Mangli. So the question was, there are 3 perspectives to that. The prices were a bit lower compared to other players. The bid got closed very early, where in some of the mines, the bid ran up to 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the night, and still this closed early. So when there are no significant findings yet, today we might know about JSPL's Gara Palma 4, 2 and 3 of Schedule 2 coal blocks. So same is the fate of this 5 coal blocks from Schedule 3. I guess we should not read much into this at this point of time. We have to wait for today's findings by the committee on the Schedule 2 coal blocks of JSPL. So we might get a hint from that. And in the event if something finds out, they might again go for a re-auction. That's the only negative if we have to look at it.
Which out of the 4 or 5 names that have come out, Chintan, which is the one that benefited the most, and if the coal block gets taken away, will be affected the most?
Benefited, see, the lowest price which has been quoted is by JSPL. For both from Schedule 2 and Schedule 3. When Schedule 2 mines Gari Palma 4, 2 and 3 was 1 by 126, and this 108, and this one at 126. So this one of the lowest one for JSPL. I guess if that goes into it, we have to again see the dynamics. So each mine has its own dynamics. So it's very unfair to say that the 126, 108, 126 will be the not so fair discovery. But we have to wait for today. And if it goes into re-auction, I guess JSPL will be more to lose because they are the one who they have secured. They're the only company secured 2 coal blocks, and both are under the scrutiny.
Okay. Chintan, we'll leave it at that. Thanks so much for joining in and giving us that point. So, of course, the view from the analyst is that wait and watch. No moves being taken as of now. If indeed this does become a reality, then JSPL, which has bid the lowest in Schedule 2, Schedule 3, would stand to lose a lot more. So do watch out for that one. That's the top loser, incidentally, on the Nifty as well, which is completely flattened out as we speak, down about 3% now for Jindal Steel. KN is at a 52-week low. So those are the ones that are losing out the most. DLF at 3.2% has gained the most. I just want a quick statistic out here. UBS, it's, by the way, nearing the 1-month highs, approaching the 200-day moving average is DLF. UBS has come out with a report. They've raised the target to 190. They've maintained the buy. They believe the CCI penalty relief and more rate cut ahead are the next triggers for DLF. So this is that big moment for DLF, so to say, the last 2 days and the way the stock has moved. Hemendra Hazari, before we let you go, I don't know if you look at DLF individually, but I mean, this piece of news, probably the best news that DLF has had in the last 6 to 12 months, can it spur the stock up further? And a few other triggers, of course, that are slated for the real estate space.
So I think this has been a big short-term relief for DLF because one, as we all know, that the real estate space is cash-strapped today. Residential properties are not moving. Commercial rents also have been slow. So therefore, and the SEBI order effectively banned DLF from raising equity funds. So there are 2 very positive features from this particular SAT order. One is that DLF can raise equity from the market, and 2, it has lifted the reputational risk that was hanging over DLF. And that's why we have seen some brokerage companies have reinitiated coverage on the stock. So I think these 2 are very strong short-term positive triggers for the stock. However, the main underlying factor will remain is when will residential properties start moving? Because as we all know, there's a huge surplus and inventory of high-income residential properties unsold in the major metros. And that requires a demand revival in the economy, which I'm not very optimistic about. So even if interest rates were to come off, I think that would just give you short-term relief to DLF and other interest rate sensitives in the economy, but it would not result in a very major, demand revival, which the Indian economy is unfortunately experiencing currently.
Ken, by the way, has hit its lowest since August 2009. Crude oil futures, remember, are now at a 6-year low, and there's a direct linkage to the prices of Ken as well. A good 1.5% lower right now. 222 is where the stock is. Remember, the government is also looking to renegotiate the contract for the Rajasthan field. The stock under pressure is now at its lowest since August 2009. But on the other side, like we just discussed, DLF, that's the high flyer. That's holding out very well. The CCI penalty relief, more rate cut, perhaps these could be the next triggers. That is what UBS is saying. And they have, of course, they maintain a buy on the stock and they've raised their price target in this one. It's fast approaching its 200 DMA. It's nearing a 1-month high. DLF holding strong, but Ken is not. Ashwini, before we get you in for a market comment, a quick retake on DLF and on the other hand, Ken, which are clearly the other end of the spectrums.
See, clearly DLF has started some sort of a upswing. Now, obviously the market is weak and hence that upswing is not too strong, but I think when the market turns, DLF could be one of the outperformers on the upside. Can, each time it has a few good days, something again hits it, and it should continue with its, bear market. So DLF is possibly looking positive and Kane looking negative. At some point, Kane should get closer to 200 rather than 250.
Hitesh, I want to get you in on the market though. Very tempered so far, be it the broader markets or for that matter the Nifty. Does it seem like though it could worsen intraday?
See, I think it could, one is that, as I've talked about the fact that, the key indices are trading below short-term support levels. So unless until there's a proper pullback, I think there's a good chance that we might see Nifty drop off during the day. Could depend upon international news flow. Since the bias is more on negative side, I think the probability is clearly higher that we could have a decline during the day.
Okay. Ashmi, I want to get you in your take as well on the index. 86.38 right now on the spot. Where do you see the index headed?
See, we could chop around for a bit, but then basically head down because the pressure of the market remains on the downside. I keep hearing that market will find support here and we should buy here. When a market is in a short-term downtrend, there is no support. So the support only comes when the market starts moving up and moving up substantially. So unless we can, get past 87.20, etc., I don't think there is great upside in the market. Yes, 10-15 points up and down can happen, but overall, I think we are likely to go lower rather than higher.
So Hemendra, in a market like this, before we let you go, what could be a good hiding place? Do you think it could be pharmaceuticals, considering that's the only pocket, and especially mid-caps, where one keeps hearing at least some positive news?
Yeah, earlier I thought in this type of market you'll have IT and pharma as the defensive, but unfortunately IT has also taken a knock. So just, I think the pharma appears to be, the only candidate around. And in mid-cap, what we have seen from companies like Natco, which have a rather strong product pipeline, which not only from the one announcement that they made, but even in August and September, you're expecting, two launches, one of Tamiflu and the other of Copraxone. So I think these could, be significant triggers for a company like Natco going forward. Now you had another company like Aarti Drugs, which really does these APIs, which are bulk drug suppliers. And there, there is an assured demand for a lot of the MNCs that they supply to. And here, of course, if with an assured demand, the company increases capacity, it's a positive. And what the company has been stating is that, the 100 crore per year capex, which they had for, per year for the last 2 years, would continue even in FY16. So with the capacity augmentations, I think, you'll still have a positive story for even a company like Aarti Drugs.
It's been a steep move, Hemendra, for Aarti Drugs. I mean, I don't know how closely you would have looked at it, but does the promise warrant the kind of move that we've seen in the stock the last 2 or 3 or the last 8 sessions?
You see, a lot of these mid-caps, pharma have rallied very strongly, either because of some announcements or even for Aarti Drugs. So that has always been a concern. But as I said, these are relative, safe havens. Although many in the analyst community believe that some of these mid-cap stocks, for the time being appear to be fully valued. And, for additional purchases, you have to wait for some declines. But again, this is, as I said, just for relative safe havens in this type of market.
Well, Aarti Drugs, 4.5% uptick. Hemendra, we're going to leave it at that. Thanks much for taking time out. In fact, like Neeraj and I were discussing, let's just bring up the 3-day chart as well for Aarti Drugs and show you the kind of uptick the stock has seen in the last 3 trading sessions. That, of course, is today's move. A good bump up of 4.5%. And the volumes as well are pretty okay, considering we're just minutes into opening bell. And Ashwini, I want to come to you, considering you as well have been positive on this one, Aarti Drugs.
See, all kinds of mid-cap, pharma and IT are doing well. So more than, thinking of this as great upside on Aarti Drugs, it is a sector which is moving, and that sometimes can take on the upside all stocks. So Aarti Drugs, for the moment, I think a target of 1700 looks likely, but so does Natco Pharma. and many other pharma stocks like Ipca Labs, etc. So it's basically some sort of a secular move where now mid-cap pharma has decided to catch up with large-cap pharma. But a key trend today is mid-cap IT, Sonata Software, Geometric. Both these stocks are picking up fairly strongly.